Welcome to DXD Governance Discussion for Wednesday, January 25th, 1600 UTC. And happy early Australia Day. Thinking of the holidays on January 27th. Let me share the agenda first. So quite a few proposals there. It looks a little bit more, I think, unwieldy than it actually is. And we're going to go through a lot of these, the redemption balancer ones here, but you can see a lot of the mainnet is from that. And then on Gnosis chain, a lot of proposals coming in for work that was done at the end of 2022 there. So we'll get to those. And then actually not as many kind of discussion items today, partially because I think we have the DXD monetary policy meeting tomorrow, which will cover in more depth some of the DXD stuff. And then also yesterday we had the priorities board meeting. But you can see, some of the discussion items there. And as always, some good links around the forum there. So starting first with mainnet, here you can see at the top we have level K vested DXD claim from January 21 to January 2022. So John has actually created a very nice spreadsheet here that you can, am I still? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Sorry, created a new screen and then that was not shared. This is what I'll do here though, while that's doing that. So I mean, I think we've seen a lot of these proposals before, but it's always kind of helpful to see, right? So this is 2 years of DXD that has, you can see, I think about a little over half of it has been vested here. So yeah, he's claiming all of that, and that will go through in the next, I think, day here. The fun thing or the fun fact that we can also see in this, while that's loading. The interesting point is that you see this 1.9K fail on this proposal, which was a little surprising when you didn't see anyone downstake that proposal. Just a little bit of holographic consensus that Dave and I think were figuring out on how this could be, because we were trying to check. It didn't make sense because there weren't any gen that was sent to the voting machine. So the way holographic consensus works is when there are proposals that are boosted, meaning they've been above a minimum threshold for at least 24 hours, that increases the amount of proposals increases the minimum threshold that proposals need to have a positive stake on. So it starts out at 250, and then it goes, again, like 300, and then it goes to 420 or something like that. But that's just affecting the required upstake, right? It's increasing that amount of upstake. The idea being, if there's lots of proposals in the queue, then voters, like the rep holders and governance, need some ability to kind of process that. So if you want to get a proposal boosted, it increasingly costs more and more. So that affects the upstake side. So the interesting thing about this, though, is that the downstake side was increased kind of automatically. And that was not due to the number of proposals in the queue, but it was specifically due to a previous proposal that had a large downstake. And so this was I think this was the original. I think, it's Connor's DXD, first DXD redemption proposal that had about a 37K gen downstake. And so that downstake then affected the downstake of other proposals. So anyway, kind of a weird, fun thing that you're discovering a little bit about holographic consensus there. Yeah, and it's always fun because like you don't. It's like the joke about like holographic consensus in DAO stack is that they've like over-engineered everything. So you're kind of just like finding these little things like this, and so I haven't noticed this before, but it was always built in there. Anyway, so that's this one, as you can see here, set to pass in 16 and a half hours. Oh no, that was a tragic move. Normally that works. Okay, then looking at the other proposals, what I did want to do here is maybe take some time to go through some of the big redemption balancer proposals, just because obviously this is a lot of money. Looking at the one from Molotov's redemption balancer here, you can see 650 ETH and 45,000 DAI. So that's coming out of the treasury. So I think it's important that we kind of take some time to look at these. And so the first thing we can see here is the original transaction hash that was sent to DXDAO. As you can see, 2100 DXD. And then, so that's sent in this transaction. And so then he's trying to claim a redemption balancer. Oh, this is what the link seemed to be slightly broken in Alchemy. Yes, but you can see here, this is what he's, the proposal was claiming. So the 2168, and this was done through the spreadsheet, the treasury spreadsheet there. And the key thing about this, I think, is, checking the ETH price is the big thing that really affects these. So you want to look, of course, at the circulating supply. So the circulating supply, 29,420, was what the circulating supply was after Connor's big redemption proposal for 5,400 DXD went through. So that lowered it to 29,420. So that's a big number we want to be checking. And then the 1582 is the ETH price there. I don't know if he has a link to. Let me find the treasury dashboard. Yeah, man, executes, trustless execution. That's kind of the amazing thing about, I think, using this, is because proposal passes and then you just get that the funds kind of go out. And it's really cool. I mean, this is cool when you're doing it. Well, someone needs to pay the gas fees, of course. But anyone can pay the gas fees. That's why we say it's permissionless. So actually, literally anyone could execute this proposal, not just the proposer itself. But if you think it's cool when you're sending lots of funds through proposals, this is why it's also very cool when you're doing lots of things on chain, like changing a website, right? That automatically gets updated. That's what we do through ENS, or a lot of the treasury things we do. We've done like these cow swap orders that like just get executed autonomously, right? No one is there kind of facilitating that. And I think this is, a lot of the power of having the DAO be managing these things. So let me get this. This is an older sheet, but you can see here. So you can see here, this has actually been updated with the ETH price that was like 2 days ago. So you can see why the prices are a little bit higher and how that would have affected the different amounts that would be sent through. Most importantly, you can see in this that even though the price of ETH has changed, there is not a noticeable difference. I guess there's a little bit more ETH. I'm not sure if that's because of withdrawals or something, but you can see the ETH price has not really changed that much, but you've seen a little bit more on, I guess it's just changed the makeup of the two, really, there. So anyway, this is a big one there. A big shout out to Molotov for putting a lot of this kind of process together, this spreadsheet that you can take a screenshot of. I think it makes it much easier to verify that. So this is the first one here, and then we'll kind of look at some of the other ones. So we have Zagzagu. I should come up with a new pronunciation each time. But this is member balancer number 2. And I think what is kind of interesting about this one, of course, not to give too much of Connor's approach away, but anytime DXD is trading below this 70% value, right, which it was doing for a long time last week, and it's even doing right now, you could just buy up that DXD on the open market and send it to DXDAO for a member balancer at the 70% there. So that's one of the ways, I think, of enforcing the floor price guarantee, is having that like flow of funds. Obviously, take a little bit of risk in the 8 days, and then also a little bit of risk of whether it will be approved or not. But based upon the number of ones that have been approved already, I think it's pretty clear. And this is actually the second one of Zagzagu. And then there's another one that I think has just been boosted here that is a similar situation. And so those are the Molotov, this one, and then we have 2 others. Triangulaires is great because they had included the actual sheet in the proposal here, but they did not actually include the transaction hash, which I always like to see. We can check out this from here. Yes, he actually didn't include it here. And this is kind of the right proposal after a couple times, but you can, really important to check the transaction hash. And another thing I always kind of checking is who sent this funds in, is that actually who made the proposal? I think it was for Triangular that it was actually not the same address, right? And that's why I think John had said we need to have kind of a verification for that here. But the key thing, so someone else is basically not claiming this redemption balancer here. But the key thing for this, again, is kind of looking and checking these numbers, making sure kind of everything looks okay. What you can do is another way to verify, because again, the key thing is really like the ETH price is a big thing that could be manipulated, is looking at the actual transaction hash, and you can see here what the price of ETH was. And that one actually seems to be a little bit higher, but interesting. Well, we'll look at that a little bit later. I think it's probably using the same numbers that Molotov used, and maybe, yeah. Let's look at. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, so it's the same numbers that Molotov used there. Okay, and then we have the next two are, we have Petro Perus for 150 DXD. And yeah, you can see here is the proposed here, and you can see this actually was updated to the different price of ETH, and that's a key component there. And we can check out the transaction hash here for 150 DXD that's sent to DXDAO from 81 BC8. And then we can see in this one, it's the same address that's sending that in there. And 46.26 matches up, and 31,791 matches up with what we see here. And the key thing, again, we're looking at the circulating supply, which is has stayed consistent since Connors, because we don't want to decrease the circulating supply for the member balancers that have not yet passed yet, because we're also not counting the funds that will leave the treasury in those member redemption balancers. Okay, now this is a little confusing, but I think it's just kind of good to go over here. So we have another one for mainnet. This is actually only 72.48 DXD. It is sometimes interesting to see where the DXD came from. So I think it was this one. No, it's not this one. One of them was from like the bonding curve. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, this one posted here a little bit smaller, but the same deal here. You can see the ETH price right there, and then the split up of those as well. Yeah, was it bonding curve? Okay. Oh, it was Petro. Yeah. Well, there was one, I think it was transferred from bonding curve to another one or something, but you could like very clearly see that it is the bonding curve, which is interesting. It was actually a pretty nice, tidy profit. Really tidy, actually. Yeah, even this one hasn't. They bought this in August 2022, and have been sitting on it for 2.5 years, and then yeah, just kind of recently participating in the program. So I think it shows a lot of people are listening and kind of following along. Okay, I think that is it for the yeah, as I said, there's the other one from Connor here, same kind of makeup, but before it really is just kind of enforcing the floor price guarantee through this redemption balancer program. Yeah, so that's all the redemption balancer proposals out there. There is another pretty fun, I guess fun is the wrong word, but a big proposal as it relates to the new DXD token model. And this is a 400 WETH liquidity order on CowSwap. Yes, fun. This is actually why David taking his shirt off, because it was so much fun doing this one. No. So we've done a lot of these CowSwap orders for the last couple of weeks. We had shifted to doing more in stablecoins just because of the price of ETH was down, and that was an opportunity to acquire DXD at a low ETH price, at a low price there. But the problem, of course, being, especially since these are 16-day proposals, they get passed, that since the price of ETH is moving typically up, it was a lot of these stablecoin proposals, buyback purchases were falling out of the range of the limit order set in that. So I think we had a $500,000 USDC order that was for, I think, 573. So 573 USDC, but so it's still like, I think you can actually access it still now through DXD, through CalSwap, but obviously like DXD is not trading at, I think it's at 650 even right now on the open market, and that's mostly because the price of ETH has moved more so than that. So this one is I think a big liquidity order, and since it will be in ETH, I think it's placed at 0.44. 0.4642 WETH for DXD. So right, this is basically saying DXD is going to buy 860 DXD at this price. And yeah, so that the way it's the liquidity orders. So you think there's like limit orders on CalSwap. There's 3 different types of orders on CalSwap. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I am once again stealing the research that you have done. But there are 3 types of orders on CalSwap. There's a limit order that is fill or kill, meaning you can place any limit order at any price, and it can only be filled or killed, right? You can't just have a partial fill order to that. So it's really hard to do large orders, because if you had, like, say this one 400 ETH, maybe the people doing the redemption balancers would be able to do that. But for the most part, it's hard to get that entirely filled. And then the second type is market orders. So you could just say buy as much at max at this price, but basically kind of execute at the market price. Now the problem with that is the DXD liquid market on chain is not that large, so you can't really acquire that much without really greatly increasing the slippage tolerance and kind of losing on out that. And then this third one is the liquidity orders, which is basically like a special position in the CAL protocol where they can allow you to do you basically I don't know if they have it like you're like a market maker or something, but they have like the special ability to place these liquidity orders where you can have basically limit orders that are not fill or kill. And so for this order here will be a it'll just feed into it. So the first thing it'll do is it'll acquire all of the DXD on the open market at up to this price, right? And then I'm not sure how much. So maybe that's like not even 100 DXD. It's probably like 50, 75, maybe 100 DXD that you could acquire up to this amount. And then the rest of it will be open for anyone to sell their DXD into. But the trick is, actually, this is interesting. The trick is you have to use the CalSwap UI to actually fetch that liquidity. But right now the CalSwap UI is actually not showing that liquidity. So it's a little tricky, but it's basically like sitting on CalSwap's order book after it clears whatever it can acquire on the open market. So I think that was right. Yeah, and I guess a couple comments in the chat here. The first one, I'm going to read it. The first one, this one will mean that the DAO is eating much more of the profits between sells and 70% rather than dirty arbors. Connor, I hope you're not referring to yourself there in terms of arbing the price up to the market price. And then the next thing is kind of, well, maybe this would have been better than the current redemptions and execute faster. That is true, but this proposal does take 16 days to go through. And the price of ETH does, the DXD ETH price does change like a good amount too, but I think we are planning to do another, I think there was another one that Dave was going to put in today, the liquidity order. And then, yeah, I think that's it. But then the key kind of for this liquidity order one is that this will first acquire all the DXD on the market price up to its limit price, and then it will basically sit on Cal Protocol's order book and accessible through CalSwap UI, accessible through CalSwap protocol. But I think actually right now it's not showing the prices through the UI. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, so they just need to like fix that somehow. It's just on the UI, but like you would have a really large surplus if you do a larger trade. But of course, you're like kind of trusting CalSwap, which is not ideal. So I think they're looking into that. And just one correction: unfortunately, this order doesn't tap into available liquidity on the market. It's just you can just match into it through CalSwap. So it's still not like an ideal solution, but it definitely does give a lot of liquidity for people to sell into. And yeah, hopefully the CalSwap guys fix like the UI thing, so it actually shows on the CalSwap UI. You can right now look at the order, and like as long as it says open on CalSwap, it will match into it. But of course, if the UI just fetch these correctly, that would be much simpler for everyone.
Yeah, so I guess then that means it's not getting the surplus between where the market price is now and where it could be traded at. It's more protecting, as we say, like the market price from going below that. Cool. And there's also like another place where things kind of happen, like 1 inch limit orders, and things are kind of going on there. So there's some trades kind of going through there. Anyway, yeah, this is kind of a bit of a discussion about some of the different DXD kind of redemption and then the CalSwap orders in here. I wasn't sure if there's any other kind of thoughts on this. Cool. Okay, and then the other, I think there's just one other. There's two other proposals on Mainnet here. We have January 2023 tokens claim Nathan here. So Nathan, of course, longtime former BizDev worker. And so this is just another claim for DXD. You can see he has a reference stock there. It's not the same format, but it does have colors. And then the other one we have is Milan V's contributor proposal, which was just boosted a little while ago. And so, yeah, this is, I think, for the end of 2022 here. And that's it for Mainnet. Let's switch over to XDAI or Gnosis chain, excuse me. Let's see if that one is going to take. So yeah, and we'll get to this in a little bit, but if you recall, we have these two contribution reward schemes going on now, so we have to kind of check both of them. I want to talk about this in a minute, but yeah, so this is the new one we can see here, and so there's a Thomas Polenta retrospective contributor proposal here. Again, this is for mostly for December, and then also Van Grimm has 4 proposals here. Basically, I think 2 months, and each proposal has an XDAI and a rep proposal. So that's why there's kind of 4 different proposals then. And another thing to note for Van Grimm for oh, actually no, this one is not going through DevX. Maybe no, the funds are not going. Yeah, so there's the Van Grimm one. Then we also have Skylab's contributor proposal, which was just boosted, I think, yesterday, almost right now. And then there are 2 currently boosting, as I said, the Van Grimm one already. And then there's an Alchemy bounty payout. This is one I just boosted a little while ago. This is for the 3AC folks for creating this, what we're looking at right, not creating, I guess, setting up and launching what we're looking at right now, which is a fork of Alchemy that we can run there. So yeah, this will hopefully be boosted tomorrow, and it's a 2,000 DAI payout for the bounty to the 3AC Gnosis chain multi-sig. Cool. And then the other funding and voting power proposal one here, we can see we have 2 proposals from Dirk here and Boris Block, and actually the next one coming in through here from Dirk as well. It does appear that the Voice Guild is still using the other contribution reward. So at least there's some solidarity there. But that's it for Gnosis chain. Any thoughts on Gnosis chain proposals or any other proposals before we move on to discussion items? Cool. So we kind of just did this, the DXD Redemption Check-in, but I just wanted to see if there were any other kind of questions or things for kind of going forward. I know that this Molotov one will potentially go through, I think, in 2 days, so that will likely maybe set off another round of those, and so we'll quickly update the sheet off of that. Of course, anyone can kind of update and verify it there. But any questions from DXD holders? I know there's a lot of rep holders that have been following this, and maybe this is kind of a lot to follow and a lot of proposals to process here, and so hoping to try to make it as easy to verify as possible. The good news is that since all these are happening on mainnet, we do have 8 days to do all these, so we will always have to be able to review any redemption balance or proposal on this call. Cool. Next time I just want to talk briefly about because scheme spring cleaning. So this is actually something we did a year ago before, but we have, I think, too many schemes. So DXvote is nice because it puts all of the proposals in a single flow. But if you look at Alchemy here, you can see at the top of both the XDAI and the mainnet one, we basically have these funding and voting power and new contribution reward schemes on top of both of them. And they are basically the exact same, except for one key difference, and that is the new contribution reward scheme does not allow for proposals to be submitted for multiple periods. So this was revolved in the exploit that Dave discovered in the summer, where you could submit proposals that had multiple redemption periods, so you could just redeem those infinitely. So we fixed that. We fixed that on the front end, not the Alchemy one, but on the DXvote front end. For any time you have a proposal that has multiple periods, there's like a warning signal that shoots up. But we also fixed it on the smart contract level, where it's like, well, we just never want to be able to look at that or track that there. But we have not yet deregistered the old scheme. And so I think we should do that. And I just wanted to see if there were any final kind of points or questions about it. I believe Adam has already, I think that on mainnet, no, not this one. I think the proposal to deregister on mainnet is already up. Where is it? Yes. Right. Yeah. And then I'm not sure if it may be. Yeah. So we need to deregister the scheme on Gnosis chain 2, but I guess those will take longer on those will take longer than any of the live proposals. But the key thing is I'm not even really sure how this will act if you submit a proposal for a scheme that is being deregistered. Like that's not, I don't really know. But I guess what if the proposal is deregistered before the payment proposal passes?
I believe the only validation if a scheme is installed happens upon the submission. So if that scheme in the meantime does get deregistered, there is no validation happening to check that the scheme is still installed. But I think something has to break, because it would be like really, really bad if that scheme still had the ability to access DXDAO funds if it was installed. So even though there's no validation happening at the point of execution, I mean, I looked at it a while ago, but that's all I really saw.
Maybe something we should test on Gnosis chain when we're deregistering it. Just like try to send a test proposal that does that after. But the takeaway for anyone looking to submit proposals is make sure you're using things that have new in it for right now, and that we will deregister these schemes. I'll boost this one on mainnet that 3AC did, and then we'll look at the Gnosis chain one. Awesome. And then, I just wanted kind of the last discussion item I had. It's not much of a discussion item, but more of a really great post I think Keenan had in the forum. Just really kind of an overview of where we've come in the restructuring and refocus process. So we passed the phase 1 proposal in September, and then the phase 2 proposal passed the end of October, beginning of November, and we've kind of been in the process of that now. So Keenan, I don't know if you wanted to go through this a little bit, just to maybe give some context and where we're at. I can scroll through.
Yeah, I think maybe this crowd probably has a better idea. I want to kind of get this up there as a wider piece for those that are less involved in maybe these calls. But I kind of ran through each of the past clauses of phase 2. So starting with the budgetary cycle, as we all know, kind of starting with Project Davi, our guilds have kind of pushed through budgets that have now passed. Of course, Candy Fork has a good post on that. Squad accountability councils, we have a post also by Candy Fork, kind of running through mission wardens and an application process and what that looks like. So that is being explored as well. Priorities board, fresh off of a call from yesterday for those of you that weren't there. And of course, we just chatted about it here as well. And there's a lot of good stuff happening there. And then the vision and direction side, which is kind of the final missing puzzle piece before a phase 3 proposal can pass in my eyes. There's the kind of true north, which is the funny meme now. But DXgov will formally establish its overarching vision as enable community freedom. I can have said here, it passed using strong language like establish, but the primary point was to set something ahead of nothing. So there's room for exploration within phase 3. And we, on the DX voice side of things, we're going to be making a presentation, I note the week of January 30th. So sometime next week, I'm anticipating early, maybe even on the governance call. We'll have a presentation on kind of mission, vision, and strategy statements, and what we think they should be rolling into phase 3. And then where we're going, us formally establishing a direction as a decentralized pipeline for communities and looking to prioritize a flagship. That, as if you were on the priority board call yesterday, noted as softly the #1 target for DX voice side of things. So that is something that we're starting to work on and expect to have shipped. I mentioned here ahead of March. I have another formal presentation, justification, why this makes sense, why we're doing it. And I also note, of course, everything we talked about on this call, the upgrade to the DXD token model, all the redemptions that are going on, and just kind of pointing to early March as that time frame for, I believe the community can put together a strong phase 3 proposal. Dave wants a private chat.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. And I promise no Chinese sayings, but I do think it's like important to kind of zoom out a little bit and take context, because this is a looking over the last like kind of, I guess, 4 or 5 months, right? And that's kind of just like we're in the middle of maybe a transition period in DXDAO's history. And again, taking a step back, you think so it's January 2023, and DXDAO will soon approach its 4th anniversary of operating on chain. And there's been like a whole lot of stuff that have happened in that time, right? And DXD will approach its 3rd anniversary in May there. And so I think DXDAO has like a very long future ahead of it. And I think the history kind of shows that there are these times where we have transition periods, right? I think before the bonding curve, there was a lot of people getting involved in terms of making something actually happen with DXDAO. So there was something there. Obviously, like the bonding curve and the ETH era was a big one, brought in a lot of interest, brought in some capital so we could kind of fund that. And then, there was the bull market of 2021 and 2022. And then, I truly think we're kind of entering like another phase here that we're maybe not at the end yet, but we're maybe in the 7th inning, sixth or 7th inning here. And it's exciting to see like what that will place DXDAO on the path for the next couple of years. So, any other thoughts, Keenan, or anyone else? Yes. So there's 9 innings in a baseball game. That's like basically the only, and home run is like over the fence. That's about it. And then I'll try. Yeah.
No, that's it for me. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Cool. And then that was it for discussion items. Just a couple different things to check out. So priorities board monthly check-in was yesterday. There's notes and a call video there. post about 3AC handoff services, but I think they're all going to the DXgov team, making sure those things are running, including Alchemy and the security bot. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. 1900 UTC. There will be the first DXD Monetary Policy Committee, which will be, I think, it'll be interesting kind of start again of gathering and talking about some of these things here. We have some interesting updates and ideas on the inverse bond front there. And then DXgov 2023 H1 stipend funding, and then also a potentially new smart contract developer, another Federico, for the DXgov team, who's been working and trialing the last couple of weeks. And this would be part of the contingency budget that was approved in the DXgov 1H 2023 budget. And so this is basically a onboarding for that. So proposals up for this. There you go. That's it for me. Is there any thoughts, comments from others? It's great to see a few more DXD holders. It's great to see a few more DXD holders on here too, and hopefully, that'll kind of make the conversation about a lot of these things more balanced. Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.